Welcome back. Probably wondering why there was no intro music, uh, or you're not, and you could give two shits. Um, we here at Everyday Hustle are gonna try and change up the format a little bit. And when I studied jazz music, they always said that good musicians create and great musicians steal. I'm stealing. I'm stealing Joe Rogan's format and Bert Kreischer's format. Um, the only difference is I don't have 6 minutes of ad reads to go through with you before we play the intro music and go to my guest. Um, but someday, actually, I came up with a really good idea for the next episode. Won't be any guest; it'll be a quick one. I want to talk about marketing. I have a passion to dabble in marketing where no sales guy should ever go. Um, so I think for that one, I'm going to do like just bogus ad reads, just make some shit up. We'll see. So as you can see, Fergie is dead on top of the piano. She hasn't moved in about an hour. Uh, I interviewed Kyle on Monday, Mr. Kyle Bennett, my best friend of 20 years. Today is Wednesday. I'm currently staring at screen 6 over here on God's own computer desk with a video file that's rendering. Uh, and here's what I'm going to tell you about that. Video editing is hard. It's really hard. And it's not the editing part that like I can cut and splice and picture in picture. Like I've proven I can make some pretty shit. What's fucking hard is I did a 2-hour interview, and it wasn't until after the 2 hours that I realized my computer was fucking struggling, and I have shit for video. Believe it or not, it's actually the video of me that's all garbled and jumpy and choppy, and Kyle's video came out very nice. And I don't say that like it's weird that it's me because it's me versus Kyle. I say it's weird because I'm sitting on the native end of the video, and his video was streaming from 1,000 miles away over a hotspot because my fucking internet went down Monday afternoon, giving me immense anxiety leading up to our 2-hour interview. So yeah, I'm trying to polish a turd and make it pretty, and I'm just gonna have to give up and put a subpar product out there, which is not how I like to do things. So according according to Adobe Premiere Pro, my video is rendering and only has 8 hours and 2 minutes to go. So if anybody would like to donate a newer, more womped up MacBook Pro to Everyday Hustle, we're here for it. But no, Kyle was here. Well, he wasn't here. He was on my screen for 2 hours on Monday. He's my best friend. I've known him the majority of my life. Guy stood in 2 of my weddings. I fucking love the guy. And there's a lot of nepotism going on in the guest list of Everyday Hustle right now. I had my mom, and then I had my best friend. I might as well be like laying out a Trump administration the way I'm doing this. But I promise there'll be guests outside of Eric's inner ring of family and friends. In fact, now that I think about it, one of the things I tell Kyle in the interview is I want every guest to propose a guest they would like to see come on, or nominate a guest that they'd like to see come on, to get outside of my, inner ring of nepotism. So, and I bring that up because the motherfucker never dropped a name. So I'm gonna have to call him back, which is good. Call your friends, call your mamas. But no, we talked a lot. We talked about growing up together. We talked about how I hustled him into moving 800 miles away in college. We talk about how he turned garage sailing and estate sales into a 6-figure income. And he goes super deep dive into the nuts and bolts of how to make it work. So if Gary Vaynerchuk couldn't get the message to you, Kyle Bennett's going to fucking knock you dead. So without further ado, in this new format, I bring you Kyle Bennett.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hi, Kyle.
Hi, Eric. So it actually helps me that your mouth is hidden a little bit behind the microphone.
Yeah.
Right. So when I'm watching you, the lack of sync doesn't hurt my brain quite as bad.
I thought you were just staring at yourself.
Well, I made you small.
Oh.
But now you're like right below the camera where I should be looking anyway.
Ah.
I don't know. This is a no-win scenario. So
that's fair.
We're gonna proceed.
So Kyle, tell the internet who you are and why you know me.
Oh man, the first question's a lot harder. Who I am these days? I am a guy coming out of grad school trying to figure out who I am and find gainful employment in the process. So I'm a dad. I'm a former musician. And that's all I think you need right now. How I know you is more interesting. I have known Eric Hattie since high school when we used to frenemy it up. We aggressively competed to be the best guitar player in a very small school, so it was that much more pathetic.
Hey, Kyle, who did they determine the best guitar player was?
I don't know. I'm sure you have an opinion on this subject.
Well, so Kyle, in the year 2000, who got the chair of the Wasika Jazz 1 guitar player?
I
want to hear.
I think we both know it's because you were in marching band. At the very least, I didn't stand it.
Oh, because I was in marching band, I was pity given the chair. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So in high school, you were a better jazz player than me. You were.
In college, you were
a better jazz player than me.
In college, you surpassed me.
Well, yeah, because I stuck with it. That's much to my chagrin, though. To be fair, you bailing was probably one of the best decisions you made in your life.
That's also fair. But you quit too. And then you came back.
but I quit so much later after so much more effort, right? I mean, so I stuck it out after you for another 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Like I was playing professionally and shit, but that's just a crap existence, right?
That's true.
Teaching and playing and man, that whole hustle just to barely make enough to make rent and survive on ramen and Tastios, just an awful existence, right? And so that was really where the pivot came. Eric Hattie helped get me my first job as a retail sales associate, basically so that I didn't end up back on his couch when I inevitably missed my rent payment, right?
So you skipped so much in there, though. So we were enemies in 2000.
That's true.
In 2002, we went to band camp together.
See, I knew you were going to go here with this, right? like I almost tactically tried to avoid the band camp stories.
No.
But if we're going to do this, let's do it, right?
Put a pin in it. I promise we will come back to that. So 2002, we go to band camp together. We become best friends.
Yeah.
You graduate in 2003, and you go to Gustavus Adolphus to study what, Kyle?
Music and physics, and then music and philosophy, and then I left Gustavus.
Why did you leave Gustavus, Kyle?
Because I wanted to play jazz, and you were at a better jazz school than me. So I followed you down to Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville.
So I feel that was my first sales hustle. Was I brought you down. I gave you the razzle dazzle tour. I took you to all the frat parties, all two of them. I took you to we went to the bistro, right?
So I think we went to the bistro, then we also hit what the hell was that comedy club called?
Oh, that's right. The Funny Bone.
Somewhere.
Funny Bone, St. Louis.
Yep, the Funny Bone.
Yeah, we saw Nick DiPaolo.
Yep.
Then I took you to a titty bar.
Yep. You took me to a gross Centerville titty bar.
Yep.
Thanks. Thanks for that.
I feel like what college athletes or like prospective college athletes get when they go tour a school is what I gave you to recruit you to SIUE.
Okay, so you're forgetting the other thing that you gave me while I was down there. Because if you remember, on the way down, I got really sick. Right?
I forgot all about this story.
You forgot about that, didn't you? What
did I give you, Kyle?
Yeah. So the next day I woke up. I was very sick, but I wanted to visit classes. I was there to check out the university as much as you wanted to go drink. I was there to check out the university.
Right.
And I'm like, Eric, I can't do it. I need some help. What do you have for meds? And you're like, I'll give you my cocktail. Right? So you gave me like 4 12-hour Sudafeds.
4 NyQuil.
Yeah, then it was Dayquil, right?
No.
So
it was 4 NyQuil, 4 Tylenol PM, 4 Sudafed, and a gallon of orange juice.
Either way, for the first guitar ensemble, I was tripping balls.
So here's where I went wrong. I didn't factor that you were half the size that I am. And
you did not adjust for weight.
And you probably didn't have the 19 years of tolerance that I had built up to said cocktail.
Yeah, I'd never taken Sudafed before. Interesting story.
You were the first person I've ever had to check their pulse.
Yeah. Because I slept for 36 hours straight?
A straight day and a half. Like my roommate, Mark Hasmere, was very concerned that I had killed you.
And with good reason. My hands had a trail in guitar practice. Do you remember the ensemble practice? I kept waving my hand in front of me.
This is the greatest version of polka dots and moonbeams I've ever heard.
Which is funny because in guitar ensemble, it was never the greatest version of anything ever.
No, it wasn't.
What was terrible? What was guitar players can't read music.
What was the meathead's name in guitar ensemble? You partied with him.
Oh, John Magramani. That guy was awesome.
Yeah. So I used this analogy when we talked the other day, the Simpsons episode where Dan Marino it's John Elway is drawing caricatures, but he only knows how to draw race cars. That McAnally only knew one solo and he played it over everything. At least the year I was in guitar ensemble and actually showed up. I am not one to critique.
Did you ever go out with Magarani and throw down? Because that dude knew how to do St. Louis.
No, I didn't hang out with any of the music crowd, with the exception of he was in the jazz program. He was a guitar player, but he really wanted to be a heavy metal player. He hung out with Nick Jose, Phil. I want to say his name was Phil. I don't know.
Phil Ring?
Yeah, Phil Ring.
There we go.
That was my first experience seeing marijuana in real life.
Yeah, the jazz program would do that to you.
But I was still such a goody two shoot because remember at this point I had not smoked a cigarette, or I think I might have smoked my first cigarette ever on that visit with you because you weren't smoking them. So.
Yeah. So. No, it wasn't that visit. It was the next visit down, and I made you try Black and Mild. Remember?
I do remember the Black and Milds.
Yeah. I got you smoking. You're welcome.
I still like Black and Milds. I'm not gonna lie. You can take the boy out of the hood, but you can't take the hood out of the boy.
Yeah, so you think.
All right. So okay. So it was the greatest hustle. It was the best sales hustle, or the first sales hustle ever, because I got you to drop out of your covered tuition journey at Gustavus, come to SIU. And then what did I do 2 months after you came to SIU?
The first semester you dropped out of the program after convincing me to move 600 miles to join you in this program. Granted, after seeing the program, I would have gone down there anyway. I would have gone down there anyway. So you don't have to feel that bad.
That's
but
fair.
you dropping out was a dick move. It was a dick move.
100%. I showed up at your door with a 6-pack of beer and was like, we have to talk.
I'm like, Eric, you haven't been at Ensemble in 2 months. I wonder what this could be about.
Okay. Well played. Okay, so it wasn't the mic drop I thought it was. But
no. You doubled down on car audio at that point, you remember?
I did. I thought I was going to be the next exhibit.
Mm-hmm.
Side note, my company, which I currently work for, which name I'm not saying because I'm not sure of the legality of my profanity-laced podcast and being associated with that, though any schmuck could go look at my LinkedIn. I told them that we needed to take a marketing pivot because everybody and their cousin right now has commercials that are like, we're here with you. We're strong with you. We're safe with you. We care. Like, no, fuck that. People want to laugh. So here was my brilliant fucking marketing idea. Are you ready?
Yep.
Go get Exhibit, because he's not doing shit right now. I checked, right? So get Exhibit, get the guys from West Coast Customs, and it's a Pimp My House commercial. And so Exhibit shows up and like they do all the goofy shit like, man, we turned on your coffee pot and we turned on your lights and we did this and blah, 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 blah. And at the very end, he's like, your house has been pimped. Cut to black,
Yep, that's
company logo.
that's an option. That's an option. Going back to your ghetto sled days, that's an option. Just another thought, and this will be edited out, I'm sure, because it's a worthless idea. But, and I was talking about this with you the other day. Have you seen the movie Contagion yet?
Not yet.
Right. So it is spooky accurate in terms of movie timeline and actual timelines, right?
Right.
And towards the end of the movie, you know, there's this scene where Matt Damon is looking at his neighbors, and half the movie takes place in Minnesota, of all places, right?
Oh, shit.
Is looking at his neighbor's house getting broken into by people looting supplies, right? Because all the global supply chains have shut down due to this virus.
Okay.
And like what you do is you get licensing for, you know, shots of the film, and then just do a couple really pertinent earlier shots of the film, and then show the one shot with the neighbor's house getting broken into, and just go, it's been right up till now. Ring sound security.
That's the only part I'm gonna have to cut out.
Oh shoot!
No, it's fine. It's
Bleep
fine.
me.
I'll bleep
Bleep
you.
me.
I'll bleep. It actually gives me a fun project to learn how to bleep.
You were playing around with the sound effects earlier. I'm sure you'll figure it out. I'm sorry. Sorry. So profanity is fine, but company names are off the table right now.
I like being gainfully employed.
Yo, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I'm envious.
Every 2 weeks they put money in my bank, and I'm very grateful for it.
And then you can spend it. You see, I have not been gainfully employed, like proper game, so long. I'm not even sure what that feeling of stability is like anymore, right?
So actually, that brings up a really good point.
For those of you that don't know, I have just come out of an MBA program, right? Arguably, difficult to argue, best MBA program in Minnesota, the Carlson School of Management. And the expectation coming out of this MBA program is I would immediately be rolling into a job. But if you go out, and there are actually trackers out that tell you what companies are actively recruiting right now,
right,
it's less than 60%. And this is self-reported, which means that number is even lower, which means I am not getting employed for a minute.
You didn't predict 2 years ago that you were going to graduate in the middle of a pandemic?
You know, I have lacked foresight for years, Eric, and I think you know this, right? I should have seen the global pandemic coming. I just missed it. You know, it was a lack of wisdom more than anything else, and I feel as if I've grown from this mistake.
It was right there on the Aztec calendar.
Shiny new degree. Yeah, I can't do anything with it.
No. You know, what I should have done is loaded up on my soundboard the old dating show game like theme song and been like, meet candidate number 1. He's a musician, physics. I was gonna say physician, but that's not right.
Physics major, philosophy major, music major, then jazz performance major, and then back to music major again.
Yeah, and then business.
Yeah. And now MBA.
Yeah.
Please pick me.
So
I'm desperate.
Would you say you won the MBA finals?
Me and almost half of my class won those finals.
So were you? I was gonna make an NBA joke, but I can't think of what's the team in Cleveland that LeBron? Well, now he plays for the Lakers. What was the team in Cleveland he played for? Cleveland. Oh, I know. You know dick about sports. I know. I know. We've
been for 15 years, man.
I know. Dude, it's closer to, well, shit. Actually, if you go off of when we first met, we just hit the 20-year mark.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Holy shit.
No, not quite. No. So you can't go off of when we first met because we were frenemies, right? Like, we didn't become like friends until like my senior year of high school. No,
that's not true. That's not true.
Like we hung out, we were friendly, but I wouldn't say that we were friends. Like it was that road trip that really made us friends.
But that wasn't
my starting point.
That wasn't your senior year though.
Had I graduated at that point?
No. Our first band camp was the summer of 2002. Mm-hmm. So you were going into your senior year. Our second band camp, you had already graduated. Our third band camp, you were a counselor.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So were you, to be fair.
That's true. They trusted me with other children's lives.
Okay, so yeah, we're probably, if we're not at 20, we're coming up on 20 years, and you make sports references around me all the time. Why?
I'm sorry. So I was going to make some analogy about atoms and protons, but I know dick about that. So
I wasn't a physics major very long. Neither do I.
That's fair. I guess we should probably bring Markle into it if we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, he'd be the one to know.
So you touched on it earlier that you don't know stability, or you're not living in stability right now. But part of why I wanted you to come on this, besides the fact that you make me giggle like a little girl, is that you had a side hustle that you turned damn near 6 figures out of.
Okay. I turned over 6 figures out of in revenue.
Yeah, dude, that's a fucking dick on the table. No. Everybody talks about top line revenue. It doesn't matter what you actually brought home, which was nothing. It matters, like, dude, when I talk about a certain company that sold satellite services and I came in and started their sales division, I always say we turned $1 million in the first 7 months. That wasn't profit.
Exactly.
That was top line revenue.
Exactly. Forget profit. No one wants to hear about that, and I certainly don't want to talk about it.
Exactly. All that matters is the number that was in the bank originally.
All right, so let's start my Forrest Gumping or my failure from the top, right? Or where I think the best starting point is.
Hey, there's only room for one self-loather in this podcast, and I've already taken that seat. So I need you to take a fucking chipper, sunny disposition about.
Come on! I taught you self-loathing.
That's actually quite accurate. Have you,
yeah, I know.
Kyle? Can I ask you a serious question?
Yeah.
Have you watched or listened to my podcast?
No, I haven't yet.
God damn. Kyle, I have a follow-up question. Do you know what the name of my podcast is?
No.
Motherfucker! Two people, my mother and my best friend, and neither of you have listened to it or could even tell me the fucking name?
I finished my financial decisions final last Thursday. 4 days ago. I have been brain dead until right now. I've been chugging coffee
Kyle.
so that I sounded coherent on your podcast.
Kyle.
But hey, this is cup number 6 on the day.
Kyle.
This is just that I was mentally competent enough to talk to you at this point.
You know, Daddy Hattie used to say that excuses are like assholes. Everyone has one and they all stink.
So hold up. We're talking top line revenue. Then we're talking about compensation, right? And what is my comp package looking like for doing this podcast, Eric?
You get 50% of the
pleasure of talking to you.
You get 50% of the revenue generated from this podcast.
Awesome.
This doesn't make dick.
No.
Kyle,
I'm doing this because I thought it sounded like fun to sit down and talk to you for a couple hours. That's why I'm here.
This is totally turned into nepotism where I just shoot the shit with people I love. So, however,
because it's easy to convince us, right?
Well, yes. Clearly, I can convince you to do things. No,
Fair enough.
New rule, and you're the first guest that will get to do this, is so that it gets outside of my nepotism circle, so that I don't turn into like Trump. You get to pick somebody I should interview for this podcast. You don't have to have an answer right now. We can circle back.
Okay.
We're going to be talking a while.
Okay. All right. So, where was this? Top of the story, right?
Forrest Gump.
I'm a performing musician. I'm in this jazz program, and I'm not making rent. Eric Hattie gets me a job selling cell phones, and I realize I'm really pretty good at it.
You were exceptionally good at it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I do. Moved up into a couple of different management roles. Joined an intellectual property company where I ended up doing some fairly fundamental strategy development for the organization. Ended up loving it. Moved back to Minnesota. Now, the problem, and what I forgot to mention throughout this whole process, is I did not get an undergraduate degree. So I was doing strategy development for a startup company. I was a general manager for a wireless retailer without an undergraduate degree. And there are people out there who can really make that work. And there are people out there that can't. So when I got back to Minnesota,
both of them on this call.
Huh?
I said you have both of them on this call.
Yeah, no, that's why I pointed out the contrasting difference, right? You have someone moving into director level roles without an undergraduate degree, and you have someone who couldn't get employed to save his life without an undergraduate degree. So without an undergraduate degree, I went back to Minnesota and decided I wanted to continue doing strategy development work. But what became very obvious very quickly is I was not qualified to do that kind of work. I had no accreditation to do that kind of work, and no one would hire me. So I moved away from that. I'm like, okay, let's get back to my sales roots. I look for account management roles. I look for territory management roles. I did a lot of interviews, and once again, no one would hire me. No one would hire me. The best I got was offers to come back and work in cellular retail, not as a manager. So I said, oh, okay, clearly I gotta get an undergraduate degree. So I went back to Gustavus, where I started, of all places, for a year, finished up my undergraduate degree. This is 2015. I rolled out of the college with a head full of steam, brand new minted undergraduate degree. I'm like, I'm finally going to get employed, right? Because I knew at this point, like I wanted to continue this strat development work that I've been doing with this intellectual property company, but it wasn't going to happen without an MBA.
So hold on 2 seconds. So you sit down in an interview for strategic development, and they're like, you have experience? Yeah, a little bit. Awesome. Where'd you go to school? Gustavus Adolphus. Holy shit, that's amazing. What did you study? I studied jazz guitar.
Music
Get the
performance.
fuck out!
I study music performance. Yeah, but here's the thing. That presumes I sit down in an interview for that job.
Right.
I got no interviews for that job. I still had difficulty getting interviews for the account manager roles, for the territory sales roles, for the territory manager roles, right?
Right.
So after getting this newly minted degree between, so as I mentioned, I knew I was going to have to get an MBA.
Right.
So I started working towards that. I knew that had to be the goal. And the only way that I was going to get even invited to interview to get into a program is if I had a robust work history. And a big hole in my work history was not going to help me out. So I knew I needed something.
Right.
So I started applying and interviewing aggressively. In 6 months, I did over 60 interviews, right? And I speculate that the reason I was unable to find employment during this period of time is that I am fundamentally unlikable in an interview setting. People do not like Kyle in an interview.
To be fair, I like Kyle, but I also understand that you're slightly autistic and a little tinge of Rain Man.
I would say I tend towards overt displays of enjoyment and passion. You know, as
Wantner's on at 4:30.
artists as musicians tend to do, and recruiters do not respond to that. Nope. They don't like you getting way too excited about a role. They just seem thirsty.
Dude, I've tried to explain this before. It's like dating. So I won't say his name out loud because I don't know if he'd appreciate being tagged to this quote, but it was, I treat job interviews the same way he treated girls in college. And his philosophy was, if you treat them like dirt, they'll stick to you like mud. So I sit through the whole interview like, yeah, that's cool, I guess. Yeah, no, I guess, yeah, whatever. I mean, if you guys want to, I don't care.
Okay, so clearly you've been fairly successful negging interviewers.
Okay, to be fair, I don't really.
Me, who's super happy to be on this date, you know, and I bring the flowers and everything, rejected unilaterally, right? So I'm coming up on 6 months, 60 plus interviews, nothing but rejections, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to go back to wireless retail. I went back, I got this degree, I'm gonna have to go. And then I started thinking, like, I have helped start at this point 2 companies.
Yep.
And I could make as much starting my own company as I could in wireless retail. On top of that, that's going to look way better on a grad school application. So I said, all right, well, that's what I'll do.
Yep.
The problem, of course, with starting a business is you need
capital,
money.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Even a one-person business requires some startup capital, and I had none. No startup capital. I've eaten through all of my savings, everything, just job hunting. I mean, and I could have tapped into Kelly. You know, I've got this wonderful woman who has been to me for a number of years, but I want to continue asking her for money.
Okay, so welcome back from a abrupt edit of the video that I cut out, even though Kyle has admitted that he's not watched this podcast ever, which means Kelly has probably not watched this podcast ever either.
Kelly just got LinkedIn. Do you think Kelly knows how to find this podcast?
To be fair, she shows up more on Facebook than you do. So actually, let's talk about that real quick.
Should we?
Why do you hate social media so much? Or why? No, clearly you're on social media because you referenced it like 4 times in our conversation on Friday, but you never interact. I take that back. You've interacted. I can count on one hand the number of times you've commented on something on Facebook.
It bores me.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, no. Honestly. So Facebook. Now we're going to get into a whole different bucket of eggs or whatever the hell you want to call it. Facebook, when it came out, was cool.
Okay.
It was.
Okay.
It was a place to go and find where the party was at, right?
Correct.
It was a place to go and check out possible significant others. It was a place to interact about the interesting things we were doing, about the gigs we were having, right? But as you age, your friend list ages with you. And what I found, the more time I spent on Facebook, the older I got, was I didn't care about the stories on Facebook anymore. Now, I've got a son. I love him to death. And I love your daughter, but I don't care about anyone else's kids.
No,
I don't. I'm not that guy, right?
that's fair.
And that's what the whole feed became. It became that and really racist stuff from people I thought were okay, right? So,
okay. That's the whole town of Wasika.
But Kelly still likes to troll Facebook. So whenever I hear about something that's happening on Facebook or a fight Eric picked on Facebook, right?
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's secondhand via Kelly.
Okay, yeah. No, actually, you know who I actually admire on Facebook is your dad. Because your dad is this sweet, lovable dude, and then he'll just be like, "That's fucking stupid, you racist."
Yeah, no, Dad's got boomer trolling down.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Like he goes on Facebook to pick fights, like you go out on Facebook to pick fights.
I was just gonna say, if you see me going back and forth on Facebook, it means I'm stuck in an airport or I'm pooping. And if you see me post something and then never comment on it, like there's like 50 replies and I have not chimed in again, I was just stirring up the pot.
No, I just generally assume you're stirring up the pot. That's what you've done for years. And don't get me wrong, that's mildly entertaining, but everything else happening on Facebook just bores me to tears.
That's fair.
So if I'm on any platform ever, it's Reddit.
Yeah,
because there is novel information that I can take away from that platform.
It's fascinating because the place that I only ever associated with phenomenal amateur porn was also an amazing resource when I was troubleshooting why my server rack wasn't working.
Oh yeah,
it was amazing.
Reddit's got everything. It's got everything. I love it.
It's like Mill's Fleet Farm.
Yeah, and so we're done learning for the day. I don't even have to go to a different website for amateur porn.
No,
it's all there.
I'll text you some of my favorite subreddits.
I'm sure you will. You should edit this conversation too.
Absolutely.
Your mom's not gonna love it.
Mom, right now, pull up Safari. Okay, I'm gonna wait. Okay, now click the URL line. That's the one at the top where you type in the address. Okay, Mom. All right, if you're still with me, type in www.reddit.com/r/ what should we do, Kyle? Gone Wild. All right, Mom. That's www.reddit.com/r/gone wild. One word, no spaces. Click enter. All right, hold on. Kyle, let's count to 3. 1, 2, 3. And right now my mom's going, Jesus Christ, Eric.
I've raised you better than that.
Okay, so let's
I miss Mama.
I do too. I'm not gonna lie. Let's back up. So you wanted to start a business. You had no capital.
Oh, I didn't want to start a business. Just to be clear, I didn't want to start a business. I just wanted a decent paying job.
So Kelly told you that you had to get the fuck out of the house. So you said, I guess I got to start a business.
Yeah, but basically, it's like I've got student loan payments I need to make.
Yeah.
So I went back home to Dad's place and I just started looking for crap that I could sell to make some quick capital, right?
Yep.
And what I found actually was my old Nintendo collection. That is actually a fairly collectible market.
Like
and
8-bit,
when I tallied up
8-bit Super Nintendo N64.
So yes, 8-bit, largely Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
That's where a ton of money is right now. You get the right Super Nintendo games, and they sell for more than they sold MSRP new.
Yeah.
Right. So I found that collection, and I'm like, okay, this is. I spent a lot of time playing video games back in the day. I still spend a lot of time playing video games, but this has got some sentimental value. But I've got to do something with my life, and I got to go now.
Yep.
So I sold it all. Right. I made probably $700.
Jesus.
Between that and some other stuff.
No shit.
And I'm like, okay, well, this is not a bad model. It's a reseller model. I can make this work, right? Just selling stuff on eBay. eBay takes a fairly small cut. It's at least when I was selling, it was around 10%.
Right.
A little bit of nothing. They subsidize postage costs. Not a bad model. So what I did is I started hitting places that reputable resellers tended to avoid. I hit in-person auctions. I hit estate sales. There are a ton of local online auctions. And in these spaces, I focused on stuff that traditional auctioneers, auction patrons tended not to buy. So I bought electronics where everyone else was buying collectible cards or comic books or antiques, right, to resell. I focused on electronics because I guess, at least in my market, rather correctly, that no one else knew the value of some of these electronics being thrown up on these auction sites.
Right.
So often I ended up picking them up for pennies on the dollar. A good example, a mega church went out of business up in the Twin Cities, and I picked up $3,000 worth of viable electronics for around $50 because no one else knew the value. And no one else wanted to deal with the uncomfortable format of the local online auction sites.
So you got $50, or you paid $50 and you turned it around for $3,000?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, so no one else was patient enough of the website. No one else who was reselling electronics was using these websites,
right?
Because it's all like the old school resellers, the American pickers, right?
Yeah.
That's the popular stuff. But the American pickers are only ever looking for antiques, right? They're looking for like Coke memorabilia and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas an audio preamp that can power a church, no one knows what that's worth.
Right.
The pickers have no clue for the most part. On top of that, they weren't willing to wait up to the odd hours that these auctions ended. But being as I had nothing better to do, I did that. But this was part of the problem. And I realized fairly quickly that even though my margins were great, I had a supply chain issue. I just could not get enough inventory to make this a viable business.
Right.
Just was never going to work. After about 6 months doing this, and I started in January, right? After 6 months of not being able to find a job, I said, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to start my own business. Started in January. I was pacing to make maybe 20 grand on the year.
Okay. It's not great.
So it was not great. It was an issue of sourcing more than anything else. I just was not able to find enough inventory. So I started looking for something else, and it actually came. Every year in Minnesota, there is a massive book sale, and I mean massive. We're talking tens of thousands of books that are sold at like 50 cents a piece. And I thought, okay, maybe I can go there and find some inventory. They got books, they got movies, they're just selling media in bulk.
Right.
So I went there with my phone and my eBay up, and I'm looking up the titles of books that look pretty, and I'm like, okay, this might have some resale value. I came out mostly dry until I saw this guy sitting at a table of unimpressive looking books with his phone and what looked like a Bluetooth barcode scanner taped to the back of it, and just bam, 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 scanning the barcodes of every single book.
Right.
And I'm like, that's interesting. So he's clearly reselling, right? But he's not picked the table that I would have guessed.
Right.
And he's checking something. He's got to be checking book values, but that's insanely quick. He was scanning a book in under a second. Now, the big thing that I've found in this hunt, trying to use eBay to determine book values, was that it took a long time for me to verify the actual value of something with this method. So I decided, like any obnoxious person would, to go up and figure out what this guy was doing. Because that's what any reseller wants who's on the job and trying to scan as much inventory as he can, is some annoying person to come up and ask him what he's doing. Luckily, this guy gave me 15 minutes while he was scanning books to tell me what he was doing. Apparently, he was an Amazon FBA seller. And he exclusively sold books and media. That was books, CDs, movies. That's all he sold. And he had a Bluetooth scanner on his phone and a program that allowed him to look up the value of a book and the odds that the book would sell immediately without accessing the internet. And that's all the information he had time to give me, because who was I? I was no one.
Right.
Like, why would he want to talk to me? So I'm like, okay, that's a really interesting idea, and that might actually address my supply chain issues. That might actually address my sourcing issues.
Right.
Because books are, at this point, used books are a junk commodity.
Yeah.
You would be amazed how many books get recycled every year, just straight up thrown out, donated, and then the donation centers throw them out because there's just so many books donated and thrown away in any metropolitan area, but especially up here in the Twin Cities.
Right.
So I went home with a head full of steam. I started doing some research about how this system worked. I spent about 2 weeks in all just watching YouTube videos, doing some digging, figuring out how much money people were actually taking home with this model, with this Amazon FBA. And FBA, just for clarity, is fulfilled by Amazon.
Right.
And I'll get into what that means in just a second. Reselling model. And what I found was, at least historically, people were looking at take homes over 6 figures. And I'm like, really? That seems insane, selling like penny books, right? But after 2 weeks, I decided, you know what, this might actually work. So I took $600 out of the eBay business and I invested it in everything I needed to start up book reselling. I bought a $200 phone scanner.
Yeah.
And I paid for the first 6 months of an Amazon FBA license, and purchased a piece of software called the A-Seller tool, which was the necessary piece here. The A-Seller tool software is what tied this whole supply chain issue in. Basically what it was a tool that went out every day and downloaded the complete database of Amazon media directly onto your phone.
That seems like it would be a really large file.
Not as big as you might think, right? Just hard numbers. And we're just talking about books and media, right? So you got hundreds of thousands of books and media,
Yeah.
but the file size was 250 to 600 meg, somewhere in that vicinity.
It's not bad.
Not that big. Yeah. Because all
So
you got were book prices. So new book prices, used book prices,
Right.
and then FBA used book prices. And I'm going to talk about the distinction.
So
on top of that,
two thoughts
you
real
got
quick.
what those prices... Huh?
Two thoughts real quick. One, there's a joke to be made
Yep.
about surprisingly not as big as you'd think. And two, every time you hit your hand on the table, the bookshelves behind you wobble, and it's freaking me the fuck out. Like, it's probably only moving like a half inch, but it looks like it's going to topple over every time you get so into it.
Thank you for the heads up. I will. I'll stop doing that. That's not my degree out there. That's Kelly's.
No, it would be YouTube gold if it just like collapsed in the middle of the interview. But I just, friend to friend, I don't want you to die.
Yeah, no, I mean, like if you want me to take it down, I'll take it down.
No,
like if it would help your channel.
No.
No.
And a 1 and a 2
and a 2 and.
All right, so sorry. Go ahead. FBA.
So the brilliance of the A-Seller tool and the Amazon FBA environment was Amazon included one more piece of information, which was the necessary piece of information to do this job adequately, which is the seller rank of the book on Amazon.
Right.
So this rank changed on a daily basis, but it was a rank system based on the likelihood that a book would sell based on previous sales.
Right.
So if a book was selling, its seller number went down. If a book wasn't selling, its seller number was really high. But that was the metric you could use to determine whether to purchase a book or not.
Right.
Because obviously you could go down on Amazon and see a book that was selling for $2,000, right?
So side question,
but
what's the highest ranking book that you found?
Highest rank, but like least likely to be sold, you mean?
No. Okay, so I guess I understood that backwards. So the lowest rank would be the most likely to sell, right? Or the hottest commodity?
Yeah. So the book that day that had sold the most copies, that day, that month, that year, right?
Right.
I don't know exactly what went into the metric, but it was a very viable metric to determine whether if you purchased a book, it would sell on Amazon.
So what was...
Right. So number one, you could be sure that book was going to sell.
Right. So
right.
I guess would you say that the one that, like, you probably found books that were hot sellers, but that doesn't probably equate to rare. I mean, that means like the Bible was probably like one of the.
So here's the thing about this reseller model, right? You aren't dealing with scarcity anymore. You're dealing with customer need.
Right.
So rarity is a non-issue.
Okay.
In terms of the book. In fact, rarity ends up on the Amazon platform being a bad thing because rare books are not bought and sold on Amazon. Not really.
Right.
That's what eBay is for.
Gotcha.
You're selling functional books on Amazon because you can't look at the book before you buy it.
You want to turn
but
it.
You have to take the seller's word.
Right.
Right. So you're not buying, a first printing of, Moby Dick.
Right.
On Amazon. Right. That's what eBay is for.
Right.
Amazon, you're buying functional books. You're buying a book that you intend to read, not a book that you necessarily intend to showcase.
So
does that make sense?
Like college textbooks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that right there was actually where I made all of my money. But
no shit.
Going back, no, unless you were not interested in this explanation because I warned you it would be boring.
I am riveted.
I'm sure. So the Amazon rank told me how likely a book was to sell. And what I tended to do was set thresholds with this rank based on the value of the book or the value the book is currently selling at on Amazon.
Gotcha.
So good example. Generally speaking, if a book was ranked over 1 million, I didn't buy it.
No shit.
Because the odds were, if it's over 1 million, it's going to take me a year on the Amazon platform to sell it.
Right.
Right?
Okay, so...
Now...
Okay, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, so this is important because... And now I'm gonna get into FBA a little bit for you. Fulfilled by Amazon means you are not sending the book off when you sell it to one of your customers. What you do is you record for Amazon all of the books and all the conditions of all the books that you intend to sell. Yeah. Then you print off individualized barcodes for these books, box them up, and ship them directly to Amazon. Okay. And then Amazon takes care of all of the fulfillment.
So are you sending them all the books before the books are sold? So they're warehousing it for you?
Yeah.
No shit.
I find the book. Yeah. No, I find the book. I decide that it's got some value. I set it up as part of my Amazon inventory and I ship them off in bulk. Every 2 weeks, I would ship, honestly, 200 to 400 pounds worth of books to Amazon.
So that's probably your biggest expense then, is the shipping.
No. This is cool. Amazon had such a great deal set up with FedEx. It was less than $10 a 50-pound box of books for me to ship these books to Amazon.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, a little bit of nothing. My shipping expenses for the year generally sat, and we're talking tons.
Yeah.
Right? I'm talking about shipping tons and tons of books over the course of a year. $400 to $500.
That's so fucking cheap.
Yo, it's insanely cheap. Where Amazon gets you is Amazon's fees.
Right.
If Amazon is handling all of the fulfillment, then all of your inventory gets a Prime label because they can handle the 2-day shipping then. It's being fulfilled by Amazon, so it's a Prime sale.
Right.
So just a word of warning if you're buying on Amazon. As of 2019, half of all of the inventory sold on Amazon was from third-party vendors like this guy, right?
Right.
So if you're wondering why quality control is not a great part of Amazon, that's why. Because even if you buy it by a Prime, there's a good chance you aren't buying it from Amazon.
Right.
Which means they have no quality control measures in place to make sure that you're getting the right product, right?
Gotcha.
The only measure in place is the self-reporting of customers about sellers.
Right.
Right? But from a seller perspective, I don't have to ship, if I'm selling, and there were months that I'd sell a couple thousand books.
Right.
I'd sell a couple thousand books. If I'm selling that many books, that means I'm not running to the post office every day with 20 packages. So Amazon is taking care of all of that, which means I can spend all of my time finding sources for more books, sourcing inventory, because that's this business model. It was almost entirely about sourcing inventory, and all of the additional operations and functionality you let Amazon handle. And Amazon took a decent fee for that.
Right.
Depending on the book size, weight, a $10 book, a standard paperback, I would make between $2 and $3 on in revenue.
No shit. So that was one
Amazon,
of my next questions was for every $100 of inventory that you brought in, what was your expected return?
So this is the hard part. It depends on the type of inventory.
But on average,
I would have difficulty speculating.
Bullshit, motherfucker.
If we just break it down,
you had to pay taxes.
If we just break it down to take home, 50%.
Okay.
50% is what I made. A little less than 50% when you factor in expense for purchasing the inventory in the first place, which generally speaking, I'll get to this, was a little bit of nothing when purchasing used books.
So you spend $150 on books, you made $150.
No.
Or you only made 50.
No. I sold $150 worth of books. I made 75.
Okay, that's not bad.
That's not bad, but let me tell you why it's not bad. Now, that number one book, that mass market paperback that I'm selling for $10 and making $2 on, that's not where I made my money. I still bought that book and sold it because I knew it was an easy $2.
Right.
But where I made my money was in reference books. It was in college textbooks.
Right.
Because though they're a bit heavier, generally speaking, even the used copies, I think my average sale price was around $60.
Right. And you were buying them for how much you sold them for 60, you were buying them for?
Yeah. So buying them for, so there was some variance there, and sure. I'll get into why there was variance there. But if you just bought them off the shelf of like a thrift shop or something like that, one, maybe $2. Right?
Right.
And Amazon's take on that, because most of the fees were flat, or the biggest portion of the fees were flat. I think it was like a 5% on the total revenue for the sale that they took, but then they had a bunch of fees.
Right.
So in a $60 book, I'd make $49, which is why over 2/3 of my actual take home was made selling college textbooks.
That's not bad.
Because they had the best return. We'll get into why they were more difficult to source in just a minute, but this is where that Ace Seller tool came to be valuable, right? So if every month my book sat on Amazon shelves, Amazon charged me.
Right.
So it was more viable to have a lower gross profit generating book that sold immediately.
Right.
And then, something that made me $10 to set on Amazon shelves for 6 months.
Right.
Which is why that sales rank was so important. So I set up a scaled system based on the value of the book, the historic value of the book on Amazon, and the likelihood of whether it would sell or not. And I actually was able to program this all into my device to determine whether to purchase or not rapidly.
Right.
Because that's the trick. In this job, you spend so much time driving around to different places, going through thousands and thousands of books on a daily basis to try and find just a few of actual value that you don't have time to run the math. Right. On top of that, when they have the big flash sales, which libraries do, and there tends to be a ton of value at the flash sales, all the other book guys come there with their scanners too. So the goal in the first 20 minutes is to scan as many books as possible, to grab as many books as possible. So you can't be running numbers.
Here comes the swarm of Cheeto-stained T-shirts and Birkenstocks and Star Trek phasers scanning books.
Oh yeah. No, I was part of an interesting cross section of people that all of the other book buyers hated. Everyone hated us because you had to be pushy, you had to go quick, and we immediately went in and found all the cool books. Right. We immediately went in and found all the cool books, and we had these tote bags or these different tote systems that we'd bring along with us that we could quickly throw a book in a bag. I had a plain carry-on that was set up to be drug along behind me, that basically I'd scan. When I'd find a book, I could just toss it over my shoulder and then land in the carry-on, and I could keep walking. Right? Because it was about speed in that situation.
Kyle, do you have any pictures of you doing this?
Oh no! Why would I want to record that?
Because it would be phenomenal for this purpose right now.
Kelly was not super proud of that behavior, but
I would
and when Kelly's like, "Oh, you look,"
I would probably put it like side by side with a picture of Frodo.
she's like, so I took her to a couple of these sales. She's like, "I don't want to go to these anymore with you. You're not present."
Well, actually, that's brilliant because she's the distraction that all these NPR, nerds are staring at while you're just like flinging books left and right.
Oh, no. These guys. So I was new to this game, right?
Right.
These NPR, the guys that have been doing it for years and years and years had their system down, and they would not be distracted by anything, right? Because these big sales were like their bread and butter, man. That's where they made all their money. They
Right.
went in, they aggressively pushed their way through, and everyone hated them. And
Right.
I was that guy for a while. But that system sucked, so I found a better one, and we'll get to that. And I keep saying we'll get to that, but I promise we will. Either way, sliding a scale based on my expected return, based on the expected holding costs over a long period of time, right? I had it down pretty well. There was less than 1% of my total inventory shipped to Amazon I had to have destroyed,
Right.
because it ended up costing me more to hold the inventory than I would end up making selling it over the course of X amount of time, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Shit. Is there is there going to be a test?
Well, I mean, so you wanted the breakdown of how I did this, and I told you it's not interesting. It's not.
No, dude.
But it was effective.
But here's so here's what I appreciate about it is so Kyle, the name of my podcast is Everyday Hustle, which the initials of is
That's
EDH.
right. It is. No, I knew that. I promise.
You didn't, you son of a bitch.
No, you mentioned it. I just forgotten. I promise.
So here's it. I'm a big believer in, and you know this about me, of you can fucking do anything. You just got to go fucking do it. And what I appreciate most about you as a person, besides you're my best friend and you've tolerated some serious shit from me, is you just fucking hustle. Whether it was slinging cell phones or slinging books or slinging degrees, you fucking hustle, right? So
you gotta hustle.
I want to put you on the pedestal of exactly what the whole premise of this podcast is. But for somebody who wants to really understand why you did what you did and how you did what you did, let's get in the fucking weeds. Because here's the deal. It's 2020. You're either listening to this on Apple Podcasts or you're watching this on YouTube, and you can just fucking, it's like watching porn, Kyle. You move the slider.
You fast forward to the good part,
Absolutely.
right? Not that I've ever watched porn.
I'm sorry, Mom. Who am I kidding?
Okay,
My mom doesn't watch this podcast. She's already admitted that.
Well, I think I may be coming to the end of the boring part, and we'll actually get into the hustle real quick. But
All right.
I feel like an explanation of the underlying system is necessary, so that at the very least you understand why I said, "Oh man, this is awful. I got to find something different." And I did find a different model.
Yeah.
And it actually came from my cell phone sales, but we're getting there, right?
All right.
I've explained the Amazon model. I've explained the A seller tool. The issue, once again, came down to sourcing inventory.
Yeah.
Because once I spent the time, and it was less than, really, it came down to about half a day a week, inventorying things and sending them off to Amazon, right?
Yep.
So every 2 weeks, I'd spend a day doing this, and I'd ship off between 8 and 15 boxes at a time. Right. And these are 50-pound boxes. Right. At the end of the day, the big issue was still, if I wanted to bring this to scale, I got to find a better way of getting reliable inventory.
Right.
Because the only way to find these books were to go to thrift shops.
Right.
Were to go to garage sales. Were to go to book sales. Right. So you're driving all over the damn place. And you could go to a site that generally has some pretty good donations, some pretty good books. And, you know, you're hoping when you get there that this place is going to have something, and, you know, you've driven 45 minutes to get there, and then there's nothing.
Right.
Right. And that wasn't uncommon. there was just too much risk associated with the sourcing. And that really bummed me out. I didn't like that some weeks I made a killing, and some weeks it was absolute famine. I'd go out for a week and not find anything, right? And I'm like, oh, okay.
So,
without Kelly, I'd be starving.
I have to chuckle because in my previous gig, when we were actually good about talking on a regular basis, I always would call you on Fridays, and typically Friday mornings, because that was my downtime at my last gig. And you got kind of snarky with me because you're like, bro, I am on my 4th garage sale. I will call you this afternoon. I've asked you already. Please stop calling me on Friday mornings.
Friday mornings were the worst day to call because it was like the first big day of garage sales.
That's right. That's when all the good shit's out.
Okay. So with garage selling, I set up a system too. There are apps that track over multiple websites all the postings for garage sales throughout a city that if you pay an extra fee for, you can easily and readily search.
Right.
So on Wednesday and Thursday night, I would map out over the summer when the garage sales were taking place.
Right.
A route that I would take that would include 50 to 100 garage sales in a single day based on keyword searches. So not just based on keyword searches, but also based on neighborhoods, right? So there are certain neighborhoods that we were less likely to see people who went to college live in.
Right.
There were certain neighborhoods where it was really obvious that you had families there and kids had gone to or were going to college and they were having garage sales and just selling all of the kids' crap, which is where I find textbooks.
Right.
Right. So Wednesday, Thursday, I usually spend 2 hours mapping out my route for Friday, Saturday garage sales. And I'd stick to that route very closely,
right,
because it was neighborhood focused and it was keyword focused, and it provided me the best odds of finding the most valuable books.
What keywords specifically were you searching for?
So first search is college, anything college.
Okay.
Right. If they've got any college labeled stuff, any college, first word was college, second word was textbook.
Yeah.
If college comes up in the post at all, that means they had a kid who went to college and they're selling their kids college crap.
Right.
And how many textbooks did you bring home and forget to sell at the bookstore, right?
Right.
Found a ton of textbooks that way. And granted, an average gain of $49 a textbook,
right,
if you find a stack of textbooks and say 4 of them are that textbook, I made $200 at a single stop right there.
Right. With 49 more to go.
Yeah, with 49 more to go. But that one stop took me 5 minutes after I paid for the book. 5 minutes, $200, which is why I had to pick my stops very specifically because other people were doing this too.
Right.
But that's why I didn't want to talk to you on Fridays. Fridays are when I made all of my money. So I could easily find $2,000 to $4,000 worth of inventory in a single day on Friday. Find nothing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then on Friday I find $4,000 worth of stuff. It wasn't that uncommon.
Let me tell you what I want to do. When Judy gets a little more self-sufficient, I want to buy like a $500 like beater truck, and I want to spend like Saturday mornings just scouring the free section on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace. And I just so I was just looking at it for shits and giggles yesterday. Well, what's today? Monday? Yeah, yesterday, Sunday. Because we were talking about garage sales on Friday. And so just for shits and giggles, I was looking at garage sale postings, and then I went down this rabbit hole of Facebook Marketplace, and I filtered Facebook Marketplace 30-mile radius free. And there was somebody selling a refrigerator. Well, they were just giving away. It was, please come pick up this refrigerator. It was, please come pick up this grill. It was, please come pick up these giant Tupperware containers that were empty. And all I was thinking is I could probably get $40-$50 for that refrigerator. I could probably get $20 for that grill. All I have to do is go drive and pick it up.
No, it's actually interesting you mentioned that, because I'm going to go into some Eric Heady wisdom here.
Let's do it.
Moving on to the next part of the story, which may be slightly more interesting, but at the very least, we're coming to the end of my rant. I'd met enough people in doing this that I understood what the model looked like, the traditional standard model looked like, and I hated it, right? It was garbage. It meant I had to get up really early and run my ass around all day, fighting with other people doing the exact same thing.
Right.
And it just terrible. So I decided to go back to the Eric Hattie network playbook. And what I began doing was networking heavily with people. First, with other sellers.
Yeah.
So the guy that you're talking about that goes out and picks up all the free stuff and resells it, I met more than a few of them.
Okay.
And I added their names to my contact list and what they were looking for while I was hitting all of these other sales. And whenever I found something for them, I'd text them real quick. And whenever they found a stack of books that fit my criterion, they'd text me real quick with the address.
Nice.
So I set up an ad hoc network of roughly 30 people who were selling within different verticals than I was. You know, some were selling old records, some were selling video games.
Here's where you missed the boat, though. So the true Eric Hattie wisdom would have been, I network, I find these guys, and then I hire all of them on my payroll and give them a flat rate to go find all this shit, and then I turn around and sell it and hawk all the profit.
I mean, you could do that, but the constraint here is still
capital.
Not enough inventory. So I'm not going to give those margins up to someone else, especially if they're going to text me with the location for free.
Sure.
Right?
No, that's fair.
So then I took the next step. I'm like, I never gave up the garage selling because there was just too much money there. But I'm like, I keep going to these thrift shops and just hoping to get lucky, hoping to get there before another reseller gets there and picks up the books.
Right.
So I'm like, you know what? We can make this B2B. So every thrift shop I went to, I started establishing relationships with the people selling until I got to the point that after a few weeks of visiting the thrift shop over and over again, they recognized me, and I was able to, without any hesitation, ask to talk to the manager about an idea I had.
Okay.
And so I'd explain to the manager, all right, so here's the thing, and I'm sure you know because you don't have the time to go out and sell these books like I am. Obviously, you know I'm selling books. There are some books that you're putting out that are worth more than you're selling them for.
Right.
You know, and usually what I'd like to do in this meeting was have a book example that I pulled from one of their shows.
Right.
This book right here is a $60 college textbook. I bought it from you for $1. Here's what I'm proposing. Instead of me coming here and looking at your shelves, competing with everyone else, how about I scale what I pay for the books based on what I expect to make selling the books?
That's smart.
So, yeah. So what I did is I offered them 10 to 20% based on the sales rank of the book, which was the likelihood that I was going to sell it.
Right.
Of the net sale of the book for the book.
Right.
Right? Sorry. Of my net profit, because that a seller tool calculated my net profit based on the book size and weight too.
No shit.
Yeah. So the books, when a manager agreed to this, what I got to do is I got to go to the back room before any other seller came through these shops.
Okay.
And scan all of a very specific type of inventory, which is just reference books, just college textbooks, which generally speaking, half these places threw away anyway. And they're like, oh, we could sell those? And I'm like, yeah, and I could give you some decent money for them.
Right.
Instead of competing with all the other vendors at these thrift shops, I was now being invited into the back room and paying 2 to 3 times more for the same books than I was before, but finding 300 to 500% more books.
Right.
And when 2 to 3 times is instead of paying $1 for a college textbook, I'm paying $5.
Right. But you're scaling. Right.
Yeah, exactly. I'm still making $44 on that sale. So I start setting up these informal networks throughout the Twin Cities, and apparently, other than a few other booksellers, no one had thought to do this.
Right.
I don't know why. What I essentially did is I took, and I won't say no one. There were a few guys who had thought to do this, and I met them.
Right.
And we talked about how this was such a better idea and why we're happy that no one else had thought to do this. But what you essentially do is you take this thrift shop, which people were reliably going to purchase these valuable books.
Right.
Right. But competing for when those books arrived on the shelves, like it was the luck of the draw, and took them off the field.
Right.
They were mine now. That was my thrift store. And I set up about 40 of these all across Minnesota. 40 of these relationships going just south of Duluth to down to northern Iowa,
Okay.
to about an hour from the western Minnesota border into Wisconsin by about a half an hour. So for those of you who don't know, this is a fairly big radius. We're talking about...
That's a lot of driving.
Yeah, so somewhere between 400 and 500 miles worth of viable contacts that when I went there, I could be reasonably sure that I was going to find inventory that I could resell.
So you said
out of the game.
I would walk 500 miles. And then I would
It was profit. There were two of them. Funny glasses. I remember.
So you were the book pimp.
Kind of. No, I was the B2B relationship developer. And this is what I took out of the Eric Hattie School of Sales, right? What did Eric Hattie and Kyle Bennett do in the crappy Southern Illinois Verizon territory that no one else did?
We networked the shit out of our market.
Exactly. We did B2B.
Yeah.
We became facets in the communities that we were selling in. We didn't just talk to customers walking through the door. We didn't just adhere to the traditional model. We stepped outside it and formed relationships. And that's where the hustle came in. Right? That's the big takeaway here.
I had to start networking like that when I was running ComCon Edwardsville, because my first plan didn't work. And my first plan was to put all those flyers on the cars in the parking lot of the Verizon
angry
corporate
call
location.
From our account manager.
I made these flyers. So for background, we ran a authorized reseller that happened to be less than a half mile from a Verizon corporate store. And that Verizon corporate store was the busiest store in probably 100-mile radius. And
yeah, we had a garbage location.
We got to sit and do nothing hours and days at a time, which turned into...
that was kind of fun.
We watched a lot of The Office. We ate Quiznos every other day. It was nice. There was one day, you, me, and Ike were sitting there, and I said, this is fucking stupid. I'm sick of fucking sitting here doing nothing. I want to make some goddamn money. So I made these flyers, and the flyers said in big bold letters, "Why wait? We have the same phones for a lower price with better accessories." Something about being a quarter mile away. And I printed these flyers off in color on pretty heavy cardstock paper. And I paid one of the stoner kids that used to hang out, because the store used to be a car audio shop. And that's how I got into cell phones. It was a car audio shop. It converted to cell phones. I was kept in the transition. And so these stoner kids that used to be there to play with all the car audio stuff kept hanging out there because they just like shooting the shit with us and we had nothing else to do. So I paid one of them $20. He took the stack of flyers down to the corporate location and put them under every windshield wiper in the entire parking lot. He left. He left to go do that. He came back 15 minutes later. He had put all the flyers out, and 4 minutes, maybe 5 after he came back to the store, I got a call from the Verizon rep saying, "What in the fuck did I just get faxed to me from our corporate legal office?" And I caused a bit of a stir, I guess is the nicest way to put it, and got my ass tanned by all parties involved. And so then we had our next discussion of, well, if we can't do that, how can we drive business?
Eric, do you know how you know that was a bad idea?
Because you were telling me
the whole time. Because it was so obviously a bad idea.
Listen, in the words of Brad Pitt in Moneyball, have you seen that movie, Kyle? It's a sports movie, but it... Okay,
of course. So Moneyball, though I haven't read it yet, just to be clear, is actually required reading for a lot of NBA programs. Like HBS, Moneyball is required reading.
I mean, it's all data analytics and thinking outside the box. I get
exactly.
it. But in the movie, Brad Pitt says, "I hate losing. I hate losing more than I like winning." And that's exactly how I fucking feel. And watching just a steady stream of people, because we could see the fucking store from our window. You could go stand at the front door and look and be like, "Oh, wow, they've got a line out the door. That must be nice." And got angry. And even though, so
we're like, do you think it's our signage? No, it's not our signage.
it was not. The other thing that just made me think of is in our 20 years of friendship, you have always been the butters that's kind of standing next to me going, I'm not so sure this is a good idea, Eric. You probably shouldn't do this. But only to a point where you know that I'm going to do whatever I have set in my mind, and you can voice your opinion so that later you can be like, I told you not to do that. But you've always been my voice of reason.
Yeah, no, but I do say, I told you not to do that, but I'm always there to help you clean it up.
No, that's true. That's true.
As I'm helping you clean it up, I'd be like, I told you not to do this, Eric. Now let's get this cleaned up.
Like the time we put Gatorade in my water dispenser in my townhome.
Yeah, you're right. I told you that wouldn't work, and then it molded, didn't it?
Dude, it was fuck. We tried so hard to salvage that, and it was.
Did you end up throwing it away?
We did. It was. Yeah. You want to know how to fuck up a $100 water cooler dispenser? You put Gatorade
Why
mix.
you had that in the first place?
I got it when I lived in the dorms because the water there was heinous.
Eric,
I'm a little bougie. I don't know if you know that about me, Kyle.
It's Daddy Hattie.
God, I miss being on Daddy Hattie's payroll. I'm not gonna lie. We're at this weird transition in life where he's about to be on my payroll, and I don't know how to feel about it, because if it's anywhere near as obnoxious as I was when I was on his payroll, I'm gonna go broke. You can't see this. Can you see my door moving? Can you hear?
I can't, but remember, I shrunk the thing because of the sink. Here, let me pull it up.
I have this.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on 2 seconds. I have this asshole cat who's just been chilling on top of the piano. That all of a sudden she's like, Jesus Christ, it's been an hour and a half. Can you two stop? And she's like pawing at the door. Like, here, I'll look. She's just trying so desperately to get the fuck out of there. Anyway.
That she wants. Oh, she's in with you. I see. Yeah. Okay. So with the reflection, it looked like a little person trying to get in.
Go. Tiny asshole. All right. And we're back. So you're the voice of reason. I do dumb shit. And
to be fair, I would argue that being the voice of reason, I have been notably less successful than you have.
How do you define success, Kyle?
I just came through an MBA program. What's your take on look like?
But that's bullshit, because your future earnings will far surpass mine based on a piece of paper. Unless I get.
Oh, do you want to have a conversation about TVM, Eric? We can have a conversation about TVM.
So here's.
I don't want to have a conversation.
I don't.
If I never.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't.
Conversation about time value of money again. I'll be golden.
No, that's so. But
started much earlier. If you invested properly, then likely I'll never be able to catch up.
I'm gonna tell you this. I am going to kiss your ass for a minute and tell you that I don't get envious often. No, that's not true. I get envious quite a bit. I have never been more envious than when you finished your undergrad. And after we got done talking Friday, I was reflecting on our conversation, and I got super jealous and envious that you like fucking put your nose to the grindstone and just banged it out over the last 2 years and got it done. Well, A, you got accepted, which is fucking impressive. Because neither of us can test to save our lives, and B, you what was it you were saying on Friday? You could have gotten a 0 on that last test, and you would have passed with flying colors. Like you still would have passed the.
Yeah, I'd have gotten like a 70%.
Kyle, there's no final I've ever taken in my life where I was like, I could get a 0 on this and I'd still pass. I was like, I have to get an 88.4 to get a C+.
Okay, so to be fair, I still probably spent 20 hours studying for that final.
True. And I guarantee you probably still got a B+ on it.
Well, yeah. Well, so that's the thing about business school. Like grades, they don't matter.
That's true.
Everyone gets an A-. And that's like the universally known, at least in my program. The curve is so hard that everyone gets an A- no matter how hard you work. And because I'm stupid, I still put in 20 hours studying for a financial decisions final. Which, if you've ever done that, awful.
It's what made you a better guitar player than me in the long run. That your insanity to just
put in the time.
Yeah, you put in the time. I had natural talent and natural good looks that only took me so far.
Your charisma did take you a ways, though. To be fair, Eric,
it still does.
Your charisma alone.
Yeah, about that. So I also chuckle that we both chose the V-neck look tonight. That's nice.
Yeah. So that wouldn't have even occurred to me. I think all the t-shirts I own now are V-neck. I don't know why. Like that shift happened in St. Louis and then I never went back. Right?
You took on the V-neck much earlier than the rest of the world. I'm just going to say. But you never did like the douchey like super low V.
That's because I could never afford the Gucci super low V.
That's true.
The lower the V, the more expensive it got. Like this is a tight V because I'm poor.
No, same. Banana Republic factory outlet.
I think this is Kohl's.
So, okay, we've been going for an hour and a half. So let's I want to give you the honor because not many people are able to do this. I want you to tell an embarrassing Eric Hattie story.
Oh, hell.
Dude, you've literally been present for 99% of the embarrassing shit I've ever done in my life.
Man.
And 99% of the illegal shit I've done in my life.
Yeah, I know, but so this is the tough part here, right? Like there are good embarrassing Eric Hattie stories that I'm like I've got to get a job and you need to keep your job. So
no, okay. Well, you're gonna have to text me later and tell me which ones you think fell into that category.
Okay, so I know I've got my favorite, and I'm gonna tell the story because it was a party in Maryville. Remember? Where I was 21.
Okay.
No one else was.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm not telling the story on your podcast. What I think I'm gonna go with.
I don't remember what that story was.
A band camp story.
Oh. So one time at band camp?
One time at band camp. So our first trip down to band camp was a horror show from the onset, right? We didn't think anything through. Like nothing.
Well, we were 16 and 17 collectively, so
yeah, even still, we were a young 16 and 17 on the way down to southern Iowa, which is, just to be clear, not the most boring place, but close, like adjacent to the most boring place.
Yeah, it's boring adjacent
in the United States.
Yeah.
Eric, you were doing, God, what was it? 95?
No,
something like that.
Bullshit. It wasn't that fast. I was doing, so it was a 65 mile an hour and I was doing 82.
Okay. Either way, you were speeding because you had a lead foot when you were younger. And
yeah, just when I was younger.
Yeah, so we passed the cop going 80, and I think I said something to the effect of,
as we're passing the cop, you said, "Oh shit, watch out for that cop."
Yeah. But then he starts following us for a little while.
No. Oh, hold on. So I'm sorry. I did this to my mom too.
No. I'm correct. Feel free.
So here's the most frustrating thing about Kyle Bennett is Kyle Bennett is so fucking laid back that it's to a fault. So we're shooting the shit and we're listening to music, and as we pass the cop, he goes, "Watch out, there's a cop." And I was like, "Where?" He goes, "Oh, you already passed him." And I was like, "Fuck!" and so then you go, "It's all right, he's not going to pull out." And I look in my mirror and I go, "Kyle, he just pulled out." It's all right, man. He's not gonna pull you over. And
No,
so
no. Hold
he
on.
followed us.
I said that he's been following us for like 2 or 3 minutes. I'm like, dude, he's just trying to scare you. He's not going to pull us over. And as soon as I said it, the cherry.
That's correct. Sorry, the floor is yours. Keep going.
Like $100 ticket. And I'm like, oh, dude, I'll help you. I'll cover half that. I never did.
You never. No,
I
you
never
never.
did.
No, you never paid half.
No, because I never paid back anything because I've never had any money. But we get to band camp and immediately just start with the antics because we have always fed off of each other's worst instincts, right?
100%.
So I'm laid back and devil may care, and then you propose something ridiculous, and I'm like, you know how that'd be really funny? So we made it ridiculous. Right?
Yep.
So, one of the first rules at band camp is like no one leaves campus. But you've got this tricked out, what was it, Ford Explorer or something like that?
92 Ford Explorer.
That's right, with the sound system that boomed all the time. And though the walk from the concert hall to the dorms that we were staying in was 40 yards, you insisted on driving every morning.
You're goddamn right. But we turned it into a half mile, maybe a mile drive to get there.
Yeah.
Because there was a McDonald's right around the corner. Mind you, our meals were covered.
What you wanted to do is because we're at jazz camp with your ghetto boomer, right? You wanted to blast Stan Kenton.
Because, dude, that even like in my 20s when I had the Magnum, like you would see me coming and be like, shit, that's a cool car. Okay, people of a certain variety were like, shit, that's a cool car. And you'd hear it coming, and they're like, oh shit, he's bumping. I wonder what he's listening to. And I get close and I roll down the windows and it's like Cherokee. Like it's polka dots and moonbeams. It's just Gary Hobbs working the kick bass.
There was the nerdy you sitting behind the wheel. So it was like oh man, I'm gonna date myself here. You remember the movie Road Trip?
Oh yeah.
You remember when they go to the frats and Kyle at the? You remember the Kyle character? Like that was the sequence when Eric Heddy rolled down the window. You had like the Kyle bumping.
Well, actually, when I had the Magnum so I had a Dodge Magnum, black on black, dropped on 22. I mean, the thing looked like a drug dealer car, and I was pulled over many times under the assumption it was a drug dealer car. But one of my favorite things...
Until you rolled down the window and this nerdy band kid was sitting there like, oh, sir.
So I pulled into a gas station one night. There were 2 Chevy Caprices that were lifted on like 26s and a bunch of dudes standing around, and they see my Magnum coming and they're like, oh, that car looks good. And then it's full limo tint. You can't see who's driving it. And door opens... Exits.
Illegal tint. I remember your illegal tint.
Eric Hattie in a suit with a double Windsor pink sparkly tie, fresh off of work at Verizon, and everyone's like, oh fuck that guy.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. So the floor is yours.
You had the high school version of that, which was your tricked out 92 Ford Explorer
with a banner on the windshield that said "Fat Kid Custom Audio."
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Self-loathing at a young age.
But on the way in, there's like road construction or something like that going on in the street we had to go down. So they had one of those. What's your speed, right?
Yeah.
And every day, even though the car had no getup, right?
0.
It was a 92 Explorer. You decided to see how high you could get that. Here's your speed.
Yeah.
And that was just the thing. Now I'm gonna come back to that. But the second to last day of band camp, we decide that we haven't annoyed enough people enough, and we're bored on campus, so we're gonna bail and go watch a movie.
Right.
We got a bunch of free time, and band geeks are band geeks, so no one was doing anything fun or interesting. So we go and see the new Star Wars movie at that point.
Goddamn right we did. Was that Star Wars 1 or 2?
That was 2.
Yeah.
Remember, because Bill Perkins was Yoda.
That's right. And that was the one where they cut Boba Fett's head off. No.
Dude, Jango Fett. I'm a nerd. I don't care. Anyway, we thought we were super hilarious when we got back in, and that almost fell that time. We pull into the parking lot, and was it both of us or just me?
Oh, it was both
like
of us.
because we're sneaking back onto campus. I start Mission Impossible rolling.
It was both of us, whilst also going.
Okay. Yeah. So the counselors that year are out there having a smoke break or something like that.
Yep.
And we don't think anyone's out there, and we're just dicking around, like, oh, we're sneaking back onto campus. Dun, 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 dun. And from nowhere, I hear, you assholes, we can see you.
Yep.
Oh.
So, but
that was the start of it. The next day, our parents roll in because we got the final concert of the week, and it's band camp. That's what happens. The parents come in and they watch you play.
That's right. We're super proud.
And we get in your car like we always do, and the Hattieses are following in their minivan or whatever behind us.
Yep.
And you look over at me and go, watch this. Smack me in the shoulder. And you just gun it past this, here's your speed sign, like you've been doing every week. But you had all the fire and the fury because you knew your dad was behind us.
I thought he was going to be really proud that I hit 60 miles an hour.
65 in town. Roll out the window, put your arm out and point at the sign so that Daddy Hattie can see that you got to 65 miles an hour going down this block. We pull into the parking lot. Your dad gets out of the car just steaming mad. You an idiot! There are cameras in those.
Is that the first time you've done that, Eric? Yes.
Yes.
I was praying that I got a ticket in the mail with a picture attached to it, with the Breakfast Club fist in the air. No, so the best part of that story is we left campus, we went to a movie, we got caught by the counselors. The second year, we come back to band camp, and now we're the cool kids on campus because people remember we were the guys that were like pushing all the boundaries.
Yeah, because this is band camp cool though, right? This is not like normal cool. We still were not normal cool.
It's a low bar. We were grading on a curve.
There's a hard curve at jazz camp.
So new camper orientation, second year, first day. Andy, oh God, what was his name? Andy something. The guy that led the camp. He says, Andy McMahon. He says, yeah. He goes, if you drove here, you will turn in your keys now because you are not to leave campus for any reason, Eric Hattie. And I was like, Kyle Bennett was with me too, motherfucker. Like, why are we singling out the Syrian guy?
No, but he called you out. Like, not even a little bit. Like, majorly called you out day one, hour one, in front of a camp of 100 people. To be fair, that probably made you cool that year. Just that quick.
I was the cool kid at band camp.
Yeah, I was the cool kid at band camp. But the counselors liked the idea so much that they started taking us out to see a movie that Thursday night.
That's right.
Every year thereafter.
We're fucking visionaries.
And the worst part, the worst part of all of this is the next year. I mean, it's not like we quit with the shenanigans. Was that the year of the duct tape thong, Eric?
Oh, Jesus Christ. So the second year was the year of the duct tape thong.
Yeah.
In the first year, they did not have counselors in the hallway at night. The second year, they were picking up a whiff of something was going to happen. And so they camped out in our hall, specifically right outside Eric Hattie and Kyle Bennett's room. And
to be fair, we had been raising the energy levels in that hallway for the better part of 2 hours before they decided to camp out. So the whole floor was getting loud because we just kept pulling stupid stunts that I'm not going to repeat on your podcast.
That's true. So we actually had other people from Waseca with us. And so there was a kid, Eric Olschmidt. We called him Little Eric. and because he was literally much tinier than me, if you couldn't understand why we would call him Little Eric. So Little Eric had this Orange County Choppers t-shirt, and we were sitting, there was like 4 of us in the room, and we were like, what should we do to fuck with these guys? Because we know that they're all standing right outside our door. What we didn't know is that it wasn't just counselors, that also some of the esteemed professional musicians who had played in the Stan Kenton Big Band were standing outside our door as well.
Well, so just because we're talking about dynamite players at this point, like hard clinicians, guys that we legitimately looked up to.
Yeah. Who
at this point in our lives
had probably handed Miles Davis his heroin at some point. So anyway, we said, well, we've got this shirt that would look really funny on Big Eric that Little Eric's wearing, and we have all this duct tape for no reason at all. So all of a sudden we decided in our teenage brains, we're going to make Eric a duct tape thong. And he's going to put on this schmedium Orange County Chopper shirt and some aviator sunglasses, and he's going to go running down the hallway. And so we were like shouting through the door, like, "Are
Orange
you
County
ready?"
shirt is very much like Chris Farley in David Spade's coat, you know. It was ridiculous.
So we're taunting these guys through the door, like, "Are you ready?" And they're like, "Please stay in your room." And we're like, "Are you ready?" And they're like, "No, seriously, you got to stay in your room or we're going to have to report you." And we're like, "Here he comes." And the door flies open and they're all standing there. And I just see all these eyes get this big at the glory that was hairy, tubby fuck Eric in a duct tape thong and a Orange County Choppers t-shirt. And I proceeded to run like a greased up naked deaf guy down the hallways of this dorm. And then I'm pretty sure I air humped one of the counselors' heads. And
yeah, but did you realize that that the clinicians were there at that point?
I didn't.
Like, did you realize and then committed to the bit anyway? Or was it by the time you got back, you realized that these Stan Kenton alumni were standing in the hall watching you?
I believe one of you had to inform me that they were standing in the hallway as all of this was ensuing.
Yeah, because the next knock on the door was these clinicians holding broomsticks menacingly.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Actually, so the most regrettable part was not defiling somebody's head with air humping. It was not embarrassing myself in front of Stan Kenton alumni. The most regrettable part of that whole thing was that whilst making a duct tape thong, it's important that you make sure all sticky parts of the duct tape are not exposed. And
because you're a big dude.
There was a strip of duct tape that was exposed, and I basically gave myself a Brazilian in this very rapid taking off of the duct tape thong so I could get dressed. We're classy fucking guys, Kyle.
Well, I mean, we certainly were then. The best part about this whole sort of embarrassing story is the next year they made us counselors.
That's Hey, you know how you defiled a counselor's head? You want to come do that next year?
Hey, you guys seem responsible.
Hey,
so you stopped taking the roads and the drive to class every day. You stopped driving on the roads to get there. You just drove on the campus.
Oh shit. So
but that's the extent of largely G-rated shenanigans we got up to at band camp. And that's embarrassing as I'm willing to get.
I would have let you tell something far more embarrassing, but I'll take it. That is some good family wholesome fun.
Once again, you need to keep your job and I need to find one.
That's true. That's true. Which brings me to my wrap up. If you are looking for a nice, fine Scandinavian / Irish MBA grad to run your business, sales, and or operations, what was your MBA focused in?
So, I'm going to correct you just a bit. in case there is anyone of any importance that ends up watching this podcast, and I kind of hope there isn't. My focus was in strategy and marketing. So the primary roles I am hunting for right now are strat development, internal consulting, product management, or strategic marketing. These are the primary roles that I'm going to be targeting in the next year.
You know what really hurts my feelings, Kyle?
What?
I said, you know what really hurts my feelings?
What?
I didn't realize that marketing was your focus when I pitched you my exhibit idea that you told me was dog shit.
I think it's dog shit.
Your face said it was dog shit.
Business.
Listen, I like to think that I dabble in marketing quite well.
Okay. So it's important to make the distinction, right? Because, all right, so you say marketing, and the first thing that comes to mind, right? First thing that comes to everyone's mind is promotion, is advertisement, right? That's just a small portion of marketing.
Right.
Right? There are a lot of people that don't touch customer-facing products or customer-facing campaigns at all, that all they do is marketing. Spencer Broughton, you remember him? I
know, yeah. I love Spencer. Good dude.
So he's actually working for Target right now, and Target is, just to be clear, I've got my qualms with Minnesota.
Sure.
I've got a love-hate relationship with it.
Sure.
But Target is an impressive company. And they're actually doing a lot with customer analytics and data analytics. And that's largely what Spencer does, is the analysis of these analytics.
Right.
This is all marketing.
What time you come, what you buy, who's buying it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What customer needs or what customer demographics look like coming into stores. All this analytics stuff, this is all under the heading of marketing. And it's not like Spencer is designing any advertising campaigns, right?
So he's not the one that's creating the, we know you're scared. We know safety is our first concern. We're here with you through COVID-19.
I still like, it's been right so far.
You're not dead yet. Buy our shit.
Yeah. Would you like to stay that way?
Come to Target. You won't get the Rona. So if you can look past all of the heinous shit that we did as teenagers and young adults, and you're looking for,
when can we say that? Like, and it sounds super super edgy and super cool, but just to be clear for anyone watching this, we were band geeks.
Hey, band geeks were. Can you at least do me this? Can you prove a point to my wife? She doesn't believe that band kids were cool in Waseca. Like, if you're looking at just Waseca in high school cliques.
Okay. Rural Minnesotan towns. Okay, for a rural Minnesotan town.
Yeah.
Band geeks held an esteem in Waseca that you did not see in most towns. Now, cool is
cool-ish.
It's a spectrum, right? But let's call cool a spectrum. You were, as a band geek, cooler in Waseca than you would have been in just about any other rural Minnesotan town because
I would say
of Waseca's history.
Any town, period. Well, here's the thing. We brought home hardware and sports teams didn't.
That's true. The marching band consistently brought home first place trophies, and the football team, I think, just did 2 years ago for the first time in like 25.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So when we were kids, the only sports team that was ever good was the basketball team.
Were they?
Yeah.
I just went to the pep rallies, man. I didn't actually watch the games.
And you probably went to the bare minimum amount of pep rallies to get a passing grade in band, right?
Yeah.
I went to every
Why would I go to more?
Which was your favorite? Hockey pep band or basketball pep band?
Remember, I played bass, right? So I had to haul that speaker around.
Oh, see, I loved, other than the fact that the horn got really cold at the arena, I loved hockey pep band. Mostly because every time the hockey players made an effort to hit a puck over the glass at a tuba.
So with something like a trumpet, right? You can adjust your attack.
Sure.
To what?
I said sure. Yeah.
To adjust for changing weather conditions. With a stringed instrument, You just gotta keep retuning the thing. It's awful.
Well, to be fair, so our band director that was there most of our time didn't really like guitar players or stringed instruments, period, that weren't like a cello or a violin. And one of my favorite memories was always guitar player turned down, guitar player turned down. And there was at one point I was at a Jazz One rehearsal, and I'm Freddie Green chomping away on a swing song, and he keeps stopping. And he goes, Jesus Christ, guitar player turned down. And I look at Brad Schultz and Katie Hoyman. I'm like, my volume is on 0. And he comes back again, and he stops, and he goes, guitar player turned down. And I just take the cord out of the guitar and drop it. And he's like, that's better. And I was like, I'm not doing anything.
Because the traditional orchestral jazz conductors, especially the how do I put it?
Uptight.
The more vanilla one. we're not a big fan of guitar, right?
That's true.
This is why we as guitar players, we got a lot of love for Basie.
That's true.
Like, because he saw value. Basie saw that value.
That and Charlie Hunter.
Remember how much Hayden just hated that guy?
Almost as much as he hated Eric Haddy.
Oh no, he hated Hunter way more than he hated Eric Haddy. He at least found you entertaining.
Hey, Kyle.
Like, I made the mistake of bringing up Hunter one time with Rick and never again.
Kyle, I'm going to do an impression. Tell me who I am. Ready?
Wait, I know this impression.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. Who am I?
See, for me, it was Reggie Thomas, and it was la doodle, la doodle, la doodle, la doodle, la doodle. That's how you sing, Kyle.
That doesn't even make sense. Actually, no. So my impression was Rick Hayden, but actually my favorite Rick Hayden was passive aggressively take the needle off the record, look at me, and go, Eric, do you just want to go get a cup of coffee or something?
So you got it half right. And I'm going to get close to the speaker so you can hear it. It was this. I'm going to get a cup of coffee. Yes.
By the end of the semester, it was just, do you even want to try? Or should we just go get a cup of coffee?
Let's get a cup of coffee.
1 sugar or 2?
It was ordered. Like, it was a
latte.
Was it a latte, or was he doing the green tea at that point?
No, so when it was me, it was a latte, one Splenda.
Enough times that really should have been a warning indicator earlier in our jazz education. Like, maybe we shouldn't be doing this.
No future. No future. No future.
No future. There's no future in it for real jazz players. Relative to them, you're terrible.
Hey, we were really good in the Bush leagues.
We were. We did great in the Bush leagues. We should not have tried to go up to the majors, though. That was a mistake.
So, Mr. Bennett.
Mr. Hetty.
We have hit the 2-hour mark.
Yeah, you get editing to do.
Which, yeah, so somebody's going to be watching this and go, wait a minute, this is like an hour and 15 minutes. And I'm going to be like, I had to cut out a lot.
To be fair, there's a lot of boring explanation. Like, this is more fun, at least for me.
So let me get this straight. You left in the part where you told your mom to look up porn on Reddit and you cut other things out? It must have been bad. It wasn't.
Yeah. No, his explanation, it was so boring. It was so boring. Like, I watched it a second time. Like,
so what I did is I took it and I sped it up to 3x.
That's a really good idea. You should do that, right?
Remix.
On the plus side, I've lost all natural light, so I look almost entirely sepia in this windowless basement that I've spent the last 3 months of my life in.
It's all right. I'm just gonna put an Everyday Hustle logo over your head the entire time, so you know the fucking name of my podcast, Kyle.
Okay,
so
that's fair. That's fair.
Here's what I'll tell you. So I did this with my mom too. I have intro and outro music, which you would fucking know if you watched any one of my episodes. Dude, you could have gone on YouTube at any time.
Not this one. I'll watch an episode though, I promise.
Just not this one?
Not this one. Why do I want to watch me?
I watch every single one of my episodes just to watch me.
Yeah, that's a you problem, not a me problem.
So where I'm going is I have intro and outro music, which I cut and mixed and sampled myself, which my mom was very impressed by. I also have a tagline that I say as I do the outro, and I would like for you to do the outro with me, which means you just have to stand there and look pretty while we do this.
Okay.
But here's Kyle. Here's what I'm going to tell you. You have been my best friend for 20 years. You stood in both my weddings. You have been there for me. You'll be in the third.
Love you.
So here's the deal, man. I am super proud that you finished your MBA. I am envious of what you've accomplished. I admire your ability to hustle and your ability to overcome adversity. And I fucking love the shit out of you, dude.
I love you too, brother. And your words are too kind. I'm absolutely graced by them. I appreciate it, brother. And honestly, I miss the absolute crap out of you.
Same. If this quarantine ever ends, I'm coming up to fucking Minnesota. I have American Airlines miles like earmarked for a Minnesota trip.
Come on up. I'm clear. I'm not doing anything right now, obviously.
You're like, come on up. I feel great.
Yeah, bear in mind, Kelly is in medicine, so she's kind of on the front lines.
I guess I'd have to quarantine there for a while then.
You might have to.
Oh.
Though I'm guessing Jess would not complain about that at this point.
She would fucking love it. She in fact, as she's listening to this, she's packing a bag like, that's a great fucking idea. Go.
Just leave. Forever.
So I mean all of those things from the bottom of my heart, but I'm also buttering you up for one ask.
Okay.
Put some fucking Mick Golden in a FedEx box and ship it to me, please.
Can you ship beer?
If you lie through your teeth when you mail it, absolutely.
Oh man, so on top of just endless profanity, right? Which I've honestly tried to avoid. If nothing else, for the sake of your mother.
Dude, I told my mom the same thing. I have an explicit rating in the Apple Podcast library. So fuck, damn shit, fuck.
Now you want to commit mail fraud.
It's only mail fraud if you make it mail fraud.
It's only mail fraud if you get caught. For anyone at the federal government listening right now.
Hey, government wiretap. So, all right. So in all seriousness, it's late as shit for two middle-aged dads. Oh my God, we didn't even talk about being bad dads. I had the name of the podcast set up already. It was going to be Bad Dads and Garage Sales. God damn it. Kyle, you're going to have to come back for a second episode someday.
So here's the thing. You don't actually have to change it. You know how when you know we're bad dads? We didn't talk about our kids.
Once. Not once. So, side note, Kyle is Judy's godfather. I'm Cullen's godfather. And we are the shittiest godparents that have ever godparented ever. Actually,
we try hard.
Actually, you're crushing it more than me. You got Judy a Miles Davis t-shirt. And I don't even think I've shared this with you. She wears it as a jammy shirt because it's still really big. And
awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. That's amazing.
I want her to know jazz musicians. So I always call it the Miles Davis shirt. And I always point to see that guy with the trumpet? That's Miles Davis. And so about 6 months ago, it was about 6 months. We just moved to the new house. She comes in our room at like 3 a.m. and I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, I threw up on Miles Davis. and so now every time
knowing Miles Davis's history is like, I don't think that's the first time that's happened.
That's all right. Miles Davis has thrown up on Miles Davis too. So Now, every time those jammies come up in the rotation, she goes, I threw up on him. And I was like, yeah, you did, baby.
Yes, you did, sweetheart. Yes, you did. But to be fair, you did get Cullen that super adorable engraved compass.
Oh, I
He's got
forgot
that sitting
about
above his bed.
That was for his baptism. I fucking crushed that.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. That's still above his bed.
Dude, that's awesome. I miss that little guy. I was so happy to see him on FaceTime the other day. I'm not going to lie. He looks so much like you and Kelly combined with, especially with the bed head. He looked just like you in high school. Minus a Camaro and a leather jacket.
Yeah, man. We were so cool. We were so cool.
We weren't.
I had the T-tops and everything. I hope he trends towards Kelly, though, because honestly, like, I don't want him to end up looking like this.
That's true.
Come on.
That's true.
Don't put that evil on him, Ricky Bobby.
So, Kyle.
How are we doing this? What are we doing?
So here's how it works. I say my name, I say your name, I say the podcast name, which you didn't know until tonight, and then I say my tagline. So you're gonna hear the music when I hit the soundboard. Just sit there, okay. Look pretty, look like it wasn't a colossal waste of 2 hours of your life that you're not gonna get back. And so here's, I even have a fader, dude. You'd be so proud of my. When you come to visit, I'm gonna show you my setup because you'd be so proud. So thank you again. I love you. I love you so much. You are truly the brother I never had. And I'm looking forward to seeing you. So on that note,
yep.
I'm Eric Hattie. That's Kyle Bennett. This is Everyday Hustle. And I promise the next one won't suck. Can you hear the music, Kyle?
Oh, that's a tough promise to live up to.
See, he gets it.
All right.
It's only gonna get funkier, Kyle.